Welcome to the Public Health Action Curriculum for Teens, or PHACT. PHACT is a free, video-based public health curriculum designed for teens to learn about the public health issues that impact communities across New Mexico. PHACT was created by the University of New Mexico Center for Disaster Medicine and the Albuquerque University of New Mexico Medical Reserve Corps Unit. Let's talk about what you can expect. PHACT covers 5 main topic areas called modules through the audiovisual format. The 5 modules are health equity and public health careers, chronic disease prevention, emotional and mental well-being, first aid and CPR, and disaster preparedness. At the end of each module, there will be an action step. The action step is meant to create an opportunity for you to further increase your knowledge of public health by taking the information you learned and using it. We encourage you to get involved in your own community and to please share these experiences with us on our Facebook page. For general information and for updates, please feel free to visit our website at unmcdm.org. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Public Health Action Curriculum for Teens. Welcome to Module 1, Health Equity and Public Health Careers. Module 1 consists of 3 videos: What is public health, Careers in public health, and Determinants of health. By the end of Module 1, you should be able to explain what public health is, give examples of public health activities, understand how public health works in the United States, know about public health careers, and be able to explain what makes us healthy and unhealthy.
Over the past 10 years, the term public health has become much better known to the average person.
However, public health has been around for a very long time.
Some say public health began in ancient Rome thousands of years ago.
The Romans believed that cleanliness led to better health and put a great deal of effort into preventing disease.
Public health has come a long way since the Romans, and today has expanded to encompass many things.
Public health is around us everywhere, every day, and it plays a big part in our everyday lives
without us even thinking about it.
There are many definitions of public health, but for the purpose of this video, we will use the following.
Public health is about preventing disease and injury for a population of people.
Public health includes many fields of work and study that aim to identify the causes of disease and disability, and apply population-based solutions to prevent them. Public health spreads across all levels of government and into the public and private sector. People who work in public health may conduct research, they may educate others, or they may be a specialist practicing in the field. While many people work in public health, we all contribute to public health in one way or another. For example, by simply washing our hands, we help prevent the spread of disease and illness. Public health is closely related to healthcare, but is different. Healthcare focuses mostly on the treatment of disease in one person at a time. Public health focuses on preventing disease for a population of people.
So I do health promotion through Bernalillo County Office of Health and Social Services, and health promotion is defined by the World Health Organization as providing people control over the social determinants of their health. And so we really try to work with communities and community partners to help them take some control over their community and their community health.
Let's look at an example. If someone has the flu, they would go see their doctor, who would treat the patient and probably prescribe medicine, fluids, and rest. Public health workers, on the other hand, would not work with the patient directly. Public health workers would conduct research for a vaccine to prevent the flu, or send out messages about hand washing and hygiene to prevent the flu. Public health and medicine together create a system that can keep us all healthy by working in different ways. In public health, disease prevention is defined in 3 different categories: primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. Primary prevention activities prevent the disease from occurring in the first place, such as by wearing sunscreen to prevent skin cancer. Secondary prevention activities are used when a certain group of people is known to be at risk for a disease or has early signs of disease, and include things like mammograms or taking aspirin to prevent a heart attack. Tertiary prevention targets or treats the person with the disease to keep it from getting worse, such as treatments for skin cancer. Some diseases benefit from all three types of prevention. For instance, primary prevention of diabetes includes eating a nutritious diet and exercising regularly to prevent obesity. Secondary prevention includes a person modifying their diet due to signs of prediabetes, and tertiary prevention includes taking medication to control blood sugar levels after diabetes has developed. Public health has made many achievements over the last 100 years or so. One result of these achievements is the increased life expectancy. Today, the average American is expected to live to 78 years old. In the early 1900s, life expectancy was only 47 years old. Vaccinations, recognition of tobacco as a health hazard, clean drinking water, and proper sewage systems, and motor vehicle safety are a few examples of some of the great achievements made in public health. These achievements took years of dedication, research, policymaking, education, and promotion. Now they seem like the norm. Public health today remains focused on improving past achievements and allowing everybody to have access to them. Public health includes many activities. Let's talk about these in greater detail so we can learn what public health is.
First, public health activities prevent epidemics and spread of disease. An epidemic is an outbreak of a contagious disease, meaning a disease that is spread from person to person. Many contagious diseases are easily preventable, though. Public health prevents the spread of epidemics and disease by promoting healthy behaviors, such as hand washing and vaccinations, through public educational campaigns and by investigating outbreaks. Public health works to prevent many environmental hazards, train people how to properly protect themselves from these hazards, and creates plans for dealing with them if they do occur. Environmental hazards are dangers found in the world we live in, outdoors, in school, at work, or in our homes. These environmental hazards are non-infectious, meaning they are not transmitted from person to person. Some examples of environmental hazards are food poisoning, lead found in paint, pollutants in drinking water, floods, or fires. Another goal of public health is to prevent injuries. Although injuries and violence are preventable, they are the leading cause of death and disability in the United States. Public health workers study injury threats, and violence, and promote programs, activities, and practices that educate, save lives, and protect people. Areas studied in injury prevention include motor vehicle safety, dog bites, school violence, concussions in sports, and more. Public health activities promote and encourage healthy behaviors. This is done through research, education, and program development. Public health promotes these healthy activities through education activities, social media, advertising, and other messaging outlets. Public health assists communities in the preparation of, response to, and recovery from emergencies and disasters. Disasters and emergencies can disrupt the healthcare system, cause loss of life, damage to property, and have enormous economic consequences. Disasters and emergencies are not always preventable, but disasters and emergencies can be prepared for. Preparing for a disaster or emergency lays the groundwork for the response. Since the health of the public is tied closely to the health of individuals, another goal of public health is to assure the quality and accessibility of individual healthcare services. This includes providing free or low-cost basic healthcare services, vaccinations, and disease screening for people who cannot afford it on their own. Lastly, one of the most important public health activities is the creation and enforcement of laws, regulations, and policies to protect people from harm. Many important human health improvements have occurred because of strong public health laws and regulations, such as the requirement to label cigarettes as being harmful to your health and the requirement for vaccinations to prevent fatal diseases in children.
The structure of public health services in the United States is a system of partnerships between federal, state, and local agencies and non-governmental organizations that work together to improve public health. At the federal level, there is the United States Department of Health and Human Services, or DHHS. DHHS is the U.S. government's primary agency for protecting the health of all Americans and providing essential public health services. DHHS includes many individual agencies. One of these agencies is the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC. You may have heard about the CDC in the news during flu season or the 2014 Ebola outbreak. CDC works to protect Americans from health, safety, and security threats. Every state in the U.S. also has a state-run health department. Some cities and counties have their own health departments too, depending on the size of the population and other factors. There may also be public health clinics that provide public health services. Public health clinics could be privately owned, may be located within a university, or could be part of a state system.
So one of the aspects of public health is to see, can we create access? So let me give you an example. There's not enough providers, let's say doctors or nurses, in certain communities. But there are people in those communities who can be trained to help individuals find the resources they need. For example, community health workers who are from the local community, they're culturally, they're ethnically, they're linguistically competent, and they can really help. So public health have invested in increasing the number of trained community health workers all over the state to provide better access.
Non-governmental agencies and charitable organizations also play an important role in public health by funding research, providing education, and offering direct services to those in need. These agencies may focus on many things, or they may have one specific focus, like policy and law, research, maternal and child health, or HIV and AIDS. Some examples include the American Cancer Society, Partners for a Drug-Free America, and the American Red Cross.
Public health is a diverse and growing field with people from many different backgrounds. There are many different careers in public health and many different pathways to get there, including technical training, college-level education, field experience, and development of special skills. A career in public health can be rewarding. Public health professionals help populations of people achieve health and wellness and prevent disease and injury. Let's talk about some of the traditional public health occupations. Traditional public health occupations are the backbone of public health.
Epidemiologists are public health professionals that study patterns, causes, and effects of disease and injury in humans and animals. Epidemiologists are the detectives of public health. They work in laboratories or offices, but also in the field, conducting interviews and collecting samples. Most epidemiologists attend college and even graduate school to obtain their training. An example of an epidemiologist's work would be to investigate a large number of reports of people with stomach illness caused by the Salmonella bacteria. The epidemiologist would track the information given and do detective work to try and figure out the source of the Salmonella outbreak. Public health planners are public health professionals who assess the needs of a population and develop plans to prevent disease and improve health for that population. A public health planner can work toward general health improvement, or they may plan for something specific like childhood injury prevention. They may seek funding for public health work or conduct education activities as well. Statisticians are public health professionals who relate math, statistics, and science information to public health. Statisticians calculate numbers and analyze data. This data is then used to help solve problems in public health and medicine. Public health educators are public health professionals that conduct research and educate the public about public health issues and behaviors that promote health and wellness. Health educators are on the front lines of improving the health of people, communities, and larger populations through teaching, education, and strategy development.
There are many occupations that contribute to the field of public health. Although they are not considered core public health careers, a few of these occupations are
behavioral health or mental health specialists, emergency preparedness coordinators, firefighters, emergency medical technicians or EMTs, and police officers, physicians and nurses and other medical professionals, veterinarians, the United States Armed Forces, lawyers, and healthcare and hospital managers.
In an ideal world, everyone would have the same opportunity to be healthy. Unfortunately, there are many factors that create barriers to achieving good health. These factors create health disparities or a lack of health equality among people.
Well, a lot of people don't know what health disparities are. So health disparities are differences in health outcomes in different populations. And so one of the ways that public health tries to work that is through a concept called focused universalism. So people who need more get more, but everybody should be getting public health information, public health services, public health interventions. So you want the entire population to be healthier, but we know that there are groups of people for a variety of reasons who may be less healthy.
Disparities in health could be due to race or ethnicity, gender, disability, age, economic status, and geographic location. Health disparities are closely linked with socioeconomic or environmental disadvantages and adversely affect certain groups of people. The public health professional is concerned with health disparities for many reasons. Health disparities are found in chronic diseases such as heart disease, obesity, and diabetes that affect certain populations more than others. It is the public health professional's duty to recognize these differences and develop strategies for overcoming them. One of the most important goals of public health is to achieve health equity for all. By achieving health equity, everyone would have the opportunity to reach their full health potential, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, social position, or other socially determined circumstances. Public health looks to remove the barriers to being healthy, not to just improve individual behaviors. A key goal of public health professionals is to understand what makes us healthy and unhealthy. There are a range of factors that determine our health status. These factors, called determinants of health, include factors that are personal, social, economic, and environmental. There are 5 determinants of health: biology and genetics, individual behavior, social conditions, environmental conditions, and access to health services and medical care. Let's talk about these more in detail.
First, biology and genetics. The inheritance of genes and the traits passed on to you from your parents that make up your hair or eye color can also cause you to develop certain diseases. For example, if your mother has had breast cancer, you may be susceptible to breast cancer too, since some forms of this cancer have a genetic basis. Some disease is inherited, but certainly not all. Public health disease screening helps a person understand their genetic risk for disease and allows them to seek appropriate medical care.
The second determinant is individual behavior. We know that many diseases can be caused or made worse by certain unhealthy behaviors, and many others can be prevented or lessened by healthy behavior. For example, you have an hour of free time on Thursday evening. Do you choose to watch an extra hour of TV or go for a walk? The healthier choice would be to go for the walk rather than watch TV. This is a behavior you control that could improve your health. One of the goals of public health is to encourage healthy behaviors through education and healthy opportunities.
Another determinant of health is a person's social condition. These are the circumstances in which we are born, grow up, live, work, and age. Examples of social conditions that impact health include poverty, lack of education, language, racism, and gender inequality. Public health agencies help address these issues through low-cost or free healthcare, culturally appropriate health education, laws and regulations to protect vulnerable people, and monitoring the health of certain at-risk populations.
The fourth determinant of health is a person's environmental conditions. These are the living conditions we experience every day and include access to clean water, access to fresh fruits and vegetables, pollution, crime, and crowded living conditions. Improving environmental conditions is an important task of public health.
The fifth determinant of health is having access to health services and medical care. Access to health care can be obstructed by language barriers, lack of insurance, high costs, and lack of availability of healthcare services in the community. One of the key roles of public health is to ensure access to health care for everyone.
When you start looking at your community, that's a public health decision. So getting involved in how your school works, how your school affects the community in which you live. You know, one of the most important influences on the health of our community is actually increasing the graduation rate of kids in our schools. So even in your own school, anything that you can do to get kids excited about studying, learning together, and graduating sharply increases your likelihood of being healthy, contributing to your family and your community.
Achieving health equity, eliminating disparities, and improving the health of all is an overarching goal for public health, allowing everyone the same opportunity to live a long, healthy life.
Congratulations on completing Module 1. Your action step for Module 1 is to explore public health resources that are available to you online. There are thousands of public health-related websites online. A good place to start is the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website or the New Mexico Department of Health website. Go to these websites and research something that interests you. Just about anything you need to know about public health can be found on these sites. Continuing your public health knowledge beyond these videos will enable you to become a resource for your family, friends, and community. Welcome to Module 2, Chronic Disease Prevention. Module 2 consists of 3 videos: What is chronic disease, cancer and cancer screenings, and preventing chronic disease. By the end of Module 2, you should understand what a chronic disease is, be able to name some of the most common chronic diseases and cancers, and understand ways to prevent them.
Chronic diseases are the leading cause of death and disability in the United States. They are also among the most common, costly, and preventable of all health problems. Chronic disease causes premature death and disability and loss of income, is a heavy burden on the healthcare system, and an economic burden on society. This is not simply a problem for the individual. It affects our population as a whole. The United States ranks 3rd in the world, behind Liberia and Sierra Leone, in terms of the amount of money we spend on healthcare. However, the United States ranks 42nd in the world for life expectancy from birth. This number largely reflects the chronic disease crisis we face in the U.S. Chronic diseases generally occur slowly over a long period of time. Many chronic diseases can be prevented by lifestyle changes that can start on the individual level. In New Mexico, there are 5 chronic diseases that affect New Mexicans the most: obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, lung disease, and cancer. As we talk about these chronic diseases in more detail, you will begin to see patterns in the causes and prevention strategies. Heart disease, also known as cardiovascular disease, is a range of problems that affect the heart and blood vessels when they aren't working the way they should. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, heart disease is the 2nd leading cause of death among New Mexicans. 2 of the most common effects of heart disease are heart attack and stroke. Both are sudden events that can lead to disability or even death. A heart attack is when a blood clot or other blockage cuts blood flow to a part of the heart. A stroke is when part of the brain doesn't get enough blood due to a clot or a burst blood vessel. One of the most common causes of heart disease is damage to the heart or blood vessels caused by buildup of fat and cholesterol in the arteries. These buildups stiffen the artery walls, limiting blood flow through the arteries to the tissues and organs. This prevents blood flow to the heart or brain and can result in a heart attack or stroke. The risk for heart disease is less in young people, but as one ages, the risk goes up. Risk factors that increase the risk for heart disease are smoking, being overweight or obese, having high blood pressure, unhealthy eating habits, heavy alcohol use, and not exercising. While heart attack and stroke can be deadly, medical treatment can potentially save someone's life or prevent lifelong disability. Symptoms of a heart attack are pain or discomfort in the center of chest, arms, left shoulder, elbows, jaw, back, shortness of breath, and sweating. Symptoms of stroke are weakness of the face, arm, or leg, often on one side of the body. Specifically, you may see someone with a drooping face or crooked smile. If someone you know is experiencing these symptoms, call 911 and get them medical attention immediately. Lung disease. Lung diseases are the third leading cause of death in New Mexico. There are many different lung diseases that affect different parts of the lungs and airways. Some common kinds of lung disease include lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, and asthma. Some of the causes of lung disease include smoking, infections, genetics, allergens, and environmental exposures to radon, air pollution, and asbestos. Not all kinds of lung disease are preventable, but many are. Some ways you can prevent lung disease are by not smoking and avoiding secondhand smoke. Wear proper protection, such as a face mask or dust mask when exposed to dust and chemicals, and by keeping up to date with vaccinations. Overweight and obesity. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids and teens are overweight or obese. Among adults, 2 out of every 3 are overweight or obese. Weighing too much can lead to health problems. Obesity and overweight are caused by an energy imbalance between calories taken in and calories used. In other words, eating too much food and getting too little physical activity. The consequences of obesity include other chronic diseases. Childhood obesity is associated with a higher chance of obesity, premature death, and disability in adulthood. Diabetes. In New Mexico, diabetes is the 6th leading cause of death. Diabetes is a disease that prevents the body from making or using insulin, which regulates blood sugar. There are 2 kinds of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is a chronic disease that a person is born with, meaning it is treatable but not preventable. Type 2 diabetes, on the other hand, is preventable. Type 2 diabetes is a result of body's inability to effectively use insulin, or when the pancreas does not produce enough insulin. Raised blood sugar, termed hyperglycemia, is a common effect of uncontrolled diabetes, and over time leads to damage of many of the body's systems. Sometimes it can lead to amputations, blindness, kidney failure, heart attack, and stroke. Those who are at highest risk for diabetes are adults and adolescents that are overweight and obese. Keeping one's blood sugar level within normal range, maintaining a healthy diet and physical activity, and medication can prevent or delay the onset of diabetes.
Cancer is the last of the top 5 chronic diseases that we will be discussing. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, cancer is the leading cause of death among New Mexicans. According to the American Cancer Society, more than 1 million people in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer every year. There are over 100 kinds of cancer. In this video, we will be discussing some of the most common cancers and some of the screening tests that are available for them. First, let's explain what cancer is. All cancers start with abnormal, uncontrolled cell growth. These abnormal cells then start to grow into other tissues. Unlike normal, healthy cells that grow, divide, and die, abnormal cancer cells continue to grow and never die. Eventually, they bunch together to form malignant tumors and destroy the normal, healthy cells and tissues around them. For clarification, there are non-cancerous tumors as well. Non-cancerous tumors are called benign tumors and are usually not life-threatening. Cancer cells can also break away and travel to other parts of the body. The technical term for this is metastasis. Metastasis may not be treatable. Cancer can affect people from all ages, although it is more common among older people. Genetics, diet, obesity, smoking, exposure to harmful substances, and the sun can play a role in developing cancer. While there is no cure for cancer, it can be treated and controlled with a variety of methods. Surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation therapy are common treatments, but they are just a few of the methods used to treat cancer. Doctors work with their patients to come up with a plan of treatment that is best for the patient. When a person with cancer has gone through treatment, sometimes the cancer cannot be detected. This is called remission. The cancer may still be in the body, however, and this is why there is technically no cure for cancer. For some, the cancer may never come back, and for others, it may return. Catching cancer early yields the best results for a full recovery.
Fortunately, many cancers can be detected early by screening tests. The goal of cancer screening is to detect cancer before symptoms appear. Screening tests vary depending on the type of cancer and may involve blood tests, urine tests, or imaging procedures such as X-rays. In general, most people begin cancer screening as middle-aged adults. The American Cancer Society recommends the following cancer screenings. Breast cancer. Breast cancer can form in the tissues of the breast in male and females. Early mammograms are recommended starting at age 40 for women. Clinical breast exams about every 3 years for women in their 20s and 30s. Women should know how their breasts normally look and feel and report any breast changes promptly to their healthcare provider, starting in their 20s. Colon and rectal cancer. Colon and rectal cancer develops in the colon, rectum, or parts of the large intestine. Screenings begin at age 50 for both men and women. Screening is done by colonoscopy, which is a small, flexible camera to look for signs of cancer in the colorectal area. Endometrial cancer. Endometrial cancer starts in the endometrium or lining of the uterus in women. Family history could lead to yearly biopsies. If there is a family history, the patient should discuss it with their doctor. The doctor might conduct a biopsy to remove a small piece of the tissue in the endometrium and test it for cancerous cells. Cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is cancer in the cervix, or the lower part of the uterus. Cervical cancer screening should begin at age 21 when a woman has a Pap test done. While there is a vaccination for HPV, one of the causes of cervical cancer, a woman who has been vaccinated against HPV should still follow the screening recommendations. Lung cancer. Lung cancer is cancer that is in or around the lungs. Screening X-rays are recommended for those who are at risk, such as people who smoke or who have been exposed to secondhand smoke over an extended period of time. Skin cancer. Skin cancer is the cancer that occurs in the skin cells and is usually caused by exposure to radiation from the sun and tanning beds. Skin cancer screening involves a visual inspection of the skin by a doctor. They will look for discolorations, growths, and abnormalities that are noticeable on the skin. They may conduct a biopsy to remove a small skin sample for testing if there is a possibility of it being cancerous. Genetic testing. Modern technology has paved the way for new methods of screening for cancer. In some cases, an individual can be tested to see if they are prone to a certain kind of cancer before it develops. This is called genetic testing. Genetic testing is when an individual has their blood drawn and genetic makeup tested to see if they carry certain biological traits that can lead to cancer. Not everyone needs to have genetic testing done. An individual that has a specific cancer that runs in the family may choose to do genetic testing. Genetic testing is not available to everyone and can be costly. It is not 100% reliable. Just because someone has a certain biological trait does not mean they are definitely going to get cancer. Taking certain preventative measures can be just as effective in preventing cancer and other chronic diseases. We will talk more about these preventative measures in greater detail in the next video. The American Cancer Society does have general recommendations for preventing cancer. These include: everyone over 20 visit a physician periodically for an exam for other cancers. Wear sunscreen. Know your family history and risks. Maintain a healthy weight and diet. Avoid tobacco and excess alcohol. Be physically active.
Chronic disease prevention can be approached two different ways, at the individual level and at the population level. The individual level approach is when the individual makes changes to their own behavior to reduce their risk for chronic disease. The population level approach is when changes are made for a population in an attempt to improve health and reduce risk for the group as a whole. The individual and population approaches to chronic disease prevention are connected to one another, and changes made at both levels usually have the best result.
Let's talk more about individual level approaches to chronic disease prevention. An individual level approach is a positive behavioral change that an individual can make that helps prevent chronic disease. We will discuss 3 of the most effective behavioral change that an individual can make to prevent chronic disease: eating nutritious foods, being physically active, and avoiding tobacco use.
The first way that an individual can prevent chronic disease is by eating nutritious foods. Eating nutritious foods can help maintain a healthy weight or help with a weight loss, while also providing the nutrition needed to be healthy. A healthy, balanced diet should emphasize a variety of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and fat-free or low-fat milk and milk products. It should also include lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts. Food should be fresh, not canned if possible. Calories from both food and drinks should be limited to around 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day. Some changes an individual can make to eat a more nutritious diet are: eat more fruits and vegetables, eat more natural foods and fewer processed foods, eat smaller servings, eat comfort foods less often, and choose lower calorie options when available.
The second important way that individuals can prevent chronic diseases is through regular physical activity. Regular physical activity helps control weight, reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. Regular physical activity keeps balance between the food we eat and the energy our bodies use. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommends 60 minutes of physical activity a day for those between the ages of 6 through 17 years of age. Exercise should include a mixture of aerobic, muscle building, and bone strengthening activities. Adults also need a mix of aerobic and muscle strengthening activities for about 150 minutes a week. Exercise should be fun, a time of enjoyment either alone or with friends and family. Doing physical activity with others can also increase the chances of sticking with it.
The third important individual behavior that can prevent chronic disease is avoiding tobacco. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, tobacco use is the single most preventable cause of disease, disability, and death in the United States. Cigarettes, cigars, smokeless tobacco, pipes, and hookah are all considered tobacco products. Tobacco use causes many of the chronic diseases we discussed, such as lung cancer, lung disease, heart disease, stroke, and other cancers. Smoking specifically harms almost every organ in the body and lessens the body's overall health, such as the health of teeth, gums, bones, and the immune system. Nicotine in tobacco products is also highly addictive. The best way to prevent tobacco use is to never use it in the first place. If you have started using tobacco, quitting now will greatly reduce the risks associated with tobacco use, no matter how long you have been smoking. There are many resources available to help.
Now that we have gone over the individual level approach to chronic disease prevention, let's discuss the population level approach. A population level approach is when changes are made for a population of people in an attempt to improve health and reduce risk for the group as a whole. Instead of focusing on one person, the focus is on a population of people.
When we make decisions about smoking or drinking or taking risks or exercising for health, it's not totally controlled just by whatever we think. It's also controlled by the environment in which we live. So for example, I may want to exercise, but if there's no walking trails, or there's a lot of loose dogs running around, or there's gangs in my neighborhood, or there are farm animals wandering around causing risks, it's not safe. So it's a hindrance for me to exercise. So that it's an example of saying, how does the community and the activities in a population affect each of our choices?
With the population level approach, Changes are usually set forth by a governing body of some kind, like an elected official, city council, health department, school board, or neighborhood association. These groups use policy, laws, and interventions to improve the health of a population. Policy is a plan of action or set of rules developed and used by a group, government, business, or an individual. Policies are put in place to guide future decision-making and planning. Interventions are the actions taken to prevent, improve, or stabilize a situation. Laws are written and passed to make enforceable rules to change behavior. Let's look at an example of how policy, laws, and interventions are used to solve the tobacco epidemic in the United States.
Free nicotine patches have been distributed to tobacco users as an intervention. Smoke-free policies have been implemented at places of business, universities, and hospitals. And selling tobacco to only those over the age of 18 is a crime punishable by law. All of these are examples of efforts made to help protect the public from the negative health effects of tobacco products. They also aim to encourage tobacco users to quit and hopefully change the social acceptance of tobacco use. So we can see that both of these approaches, individual and population-based, are important to preventing chronic disease. On one hand, changing individual behavior helps one person live a healthier life, but making population changes can help many. In order to succeed in preventing chronic disease, we must use a mixture of both approaches. Let's look at one last example to show how individual and population-based approaches are linked. A city council votes to put more funding towards developing more parks in a community. When the parks are built, there are now more places for individuals in the community to exercise in. This increases the chances of someone exercising, which in turn increases the chances they will also make healthier nutritional choices, live a healthier lifestyle, and ultimately decrease their chances for chronic disease. Congratulations on completing Module 2. The action step for Module 2 is to conduct an inventory of the food and drink you eat for a week. To do this, write down everything you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, including any snacks you eat and the drinks you drink throughout the day. Do this for an entire week. At the end of the week, take a look back at what you ate and drank. Identify 1 or 2 improvements that you can make to improve your diet and nutrition. Perhaps switching your afternoon snack of chips to an apple, or switching white bread with whole wheat bread, and encourage your parents, siblings, and friends to participate in this activity with you. Welcome to Module 3, Emotional and Mental Well-Being. Module 3 consists of 4 videos: Mental Health and Wellness, How Can I Recognize Depression and Help Prevent Suicide, How Can I Recognize Teen Dating Violence, and Recognizing Serious Mental Illness. By the end of Module 3, you should understand the connection between a healthy mind and a healthy body, know the difference between healthy and unhealthy coping skills, and give examples of each, and know how to recognize the warning signs of depression, suicide, and teen dating violence, and what to do when you see them.
Being healthy is more than not having a disease or illness. Being healthy is about health of the mind and body. It is about our overall well-being. Being in good mental health is just as important as our physical health. Being in good mental health is when a person realizes his or his own abilities, is able to cope with the normal stresses of life, and is able to function well at home, in school, at work, and in their community. Mental well-being can be described in 3 ways: emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Emotional well-being includes happiness, peacefulness, and life satisfaction. Psychological well-being is having self-acceptance, spirituality, control of one's environment, and positive relationships. And lastly, social well-being is having a sense of community, belonging, social acceptance, and personal self-worth. Mental wellness tells us that we perceive our lives as going well, even through everyday ups and downs. Mental well-being is something that we can all strive for. By learning how to deal with stress and emotions, we can work toward achieving good mental health and preventing unhealthy or harmful behaviors. Mental well-being requires effort just as physical wellness does. Developing good coping skills can help us deal with emotional and physical stressors. Coping skills are like tools in a toolbox that help us maintain mental wellness. There are good coping skills and bad ones. Next, we will discuss good coping skills. An increase in physical activity is beneficial to the mind just as it is to the body. Something as simple as a 10-minute walk can help clear the mind while burning calories. Listen to music or talk with a friend while walking or exercising can make it more enjoyable. Dancing, running, and other activities will work too, as long as it's enjoyable. Take time for yourself. Taking time for yourself away from others is a way to relax and clear your mind from the stress of life. This could include reading a book, going for a walk, composing music, drawing, or writing down your thoughts in a journal. Nutrition. You may not think there is a link between the food you put in your body and the way you feel, but there certainly is. Eating healthier foods will give you more energy and help you feel better by giving your body the nutrition it needs to function. Eat the rainbow of fruits and vegetables, if you can, along with lean meats and healthy grains. Limit your sugary treats, but don't feel guilty about allowing yourself to splurge every now and then. Guilt can make it harder to improve healthy eating and can make you feel worse about yourself. Remember, it is about eating an overall healthy, balanced diet. Wellness activities. You may find it helpful to participate in wellness activities such as yoga, meditation, deep breathing, or other relaxation techniques. If there are no classes available, rent a book from the library or look online. There are many free resources available out there. Laugh. Laughter is a great stress reliever. Watch a funny movie or read a funny book to give your mind a break from your daily mental work. Volunteer. Volunteering to help others is a great way to improve your own mental wellness. Volunteering can reduce your stress, help you understand how other people struggle and succeed, increase your gratitude about your own life, and get you involved in your community. Look for organized volunteer opportunities at school or at church, or ask an adult to help you find a way to help others. Sleep more and sleep better. By getting good, restful sleep, you will have the energy to take on a new day. Some tips for getting a restful night's sleep include setting a sleep schedule for yourself and sticking to it. Stopping electronic activities like TV, texting, and games an hour or so before bed. Doing some more physical activity during the day to sleep better at night, and staying away from caffeine and sugary foods before bed. Spend time with friends and family in a personal way, not just on the phone or computer. Take time to reconnect with people, to laugh, tell stories, offer help, cry and hug, or just to catch up on life. Going for a walk, playing basketball, or cooking a meal together are some good connecting activities. Spend time with people who make you feel good and healthy. And lastly, challenge yourself and set goals. Set a physical activity goal for yourself. Join a group like an after-school club or soccer team. Completing goals helps build confidence and improves mental well-being. Just as there are positive, healthy coping skills, there are unhealthy ways that people cope with emotional stress too. These include misusing drugs and alcohol, committing violence, hurting themselves, excessive exercising, or dangerous eating behaviors, and taking unnecessary physical risks. It is important to recognize that these behaviors can cause even more problems to both physical and mental health, and should not replace more positive, healthier coping techniques. And remember, healthy coping skills take practice. The more you use them, the easier it will become. Mental well-being is something that we all must work on throughout our lives. It is normal to have occasional feelings of sadness and anger, but if you notice these uncomfortable feelings aren't going away, it's okay to ask for help from someone who cares about you. Talk to a teacher or counselor at school. Ask your coach for advice. Discuss your feelings with your parents or older siblings. Reaching out for help when you need it is the most important skill of all.
Sometimes feelings of sadness are caused by something more serious than just occasional trouble coping with everyday stresses. Having severe sadness that lasts for a long time could be a sign that someone is suffering from depression. Depression includes severe sad moods, decreased interest in activities, serious weight gain or weight loss, constant tiredness, overwhelming feelings of guilt, difficulty concentrating, withdrawal from the outside world, and most seriously, repeated thoughts of death. Depression affects 1 in every 4 adult Americans. Each year, more than 36,000 Americans take their own lives, and hundreds of thousands receive treatment for self-inflicted wounds and injuries. Depression is a public health concern because, if left untreated, it can become a chronic disease. Depression can also make other existing chronic diseases worse. Depression is costly and debilitating to those who suffer from it.
The first thing to know about depression is that it's a chemical imbalance in your brain. And sometimes when we see that among our loved ones or our friends, we think, oh, what's wrong with them? Why can't they just pull themselves up and get motivated? So I want to acknowledge that there's a lot that goes on that causes depression, and part of it is chemical.
There are signs that an individual may be depressed, including
feelings of hopelessness or pessimism, feelings of guilt, worthlessness, or helplessness, irritability or restlessness, loss of interest in activities or hobbies, fatigue and decreased energy, difficulty concentrating, remembering details, and making decisions, insomnia, early morning wakefulness or excessive sleeping, overeating or loss of appetite, persistent aches or pains, headaches, cramps, or digestive problems that do not get better even with treatment, or thoughts of suicide or suicide attempts.
Depression is a burden to the individual with the disease and to their relationships with family, friends, work, and their community. But depression can be treated. Individuals suffering from depression can be treated with medication prescribed by a doctor or by using behavioral therapy, or both. There is no shame in depression. It takes a lot of courage for someone to express their feelings, and this may be the first step to their seeking help. Sometimes an individual suffering from depression will attempt to end their life through suicide or will commit acts of violence toward others. Sometimes there are warning signs about these problems that can be seen by others. These warning signs should be acknowledged and taken seriously and include
talking about wanting to die or commit suicide, looking for a way to commit suicide, such as searching for information online or buying a gun, talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live, talking about feeling trapped or being in unbearable pain, talking about being a burden to others, increasing the use of alcohol or drugs, acting anxious or agitated or behaving recklessly, sleeping too much or too little, withdrawal, showing rage or talking about seeking revenge, displaying extreme mood swings, preoccupation with death or violence, loss of interest in things that used to be important, giving away prized possessions for no reason, visiting or calling people to say goodbye.
If someone you know shows these warning signs, talk to an adult about it. Depression and suicidal thoughts should be handled by a qualified professional.
How do you act as a motivator for somebody impacted by depression? How do you get them up, moving, exercising, making good decisions so that they can improve their mood? I think first having compassion that they're going through something really serious, that, their brain's being hijacked by by natural chemicals that's causing them to be sad. So their brain's been hijacked, right? So that's not really their fault. So having that compassion, I think, really goes a long way, because people begin to trust you because they know that you care.
If possible, encourage the person who is showing these signs to call the toll-free 24-hour hotline of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If someone you know actually harms themselves physically or with drugs, or could harm someone else, call 911. Another essential part of mental well-being is having healthy relationships. Recognizing the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships can help prevent both physical and mental trauma.
Teen dating violence is a set of behaviors around power and control where one person who is in a dating relationship, makes someone feel badly about themselves, controls who they talk to, might monitor their phones, their cell phones, check their text messages, get on their Facebook or their Twitter accounts or anything social media and see what they're up to. So the other person is feeling controlled, and that's really what dating violence is. It's a set of unhealthy behaviors that can actually really lead to some serious stuff.
Some relationships that are not emotionally healthy can turn abusive or violent. Teen dating violence includes physical, sexual, or psychological harm by a current or former dating or relationship partner. Abuse or violence can be committed by males or females and can occur in all types of relationships. Teens and their parents are often unaware that teens can experience dating violence, but unhealthy relationships can happen at any age. Teen dating violence can happen once or can continue over a long period of time. Dating and relationship violence and abuse comes in many forms and sometimes is hidden from others. Examples of violence or abuse in a relationship include
physical abuse, such as kicking, slapping, shoving, punching, biting, burning, or other harmful physical acts. Forcing a partner to engage in a sexual act through threats, physical force, drugs and alcohol, or other abusive methods. Using words, gestures, and weapons to threaten to cause injury, death, or other physical harm. Psychological or emotional violence, such as shaming, bullying, stalking, controlling, or harassing. This can be done in person or electronically through text messages and social media.
Unfortunately, some teens think that committing or accepting these abusive behaviors are a normal part of relationships. Some teens grow up in homes with emotionally, physically, or verbally abusive parents or family members. This behavior is also seen on the news and in television and movies, making it seem acceptable. Some teens may misinterpret violence and anger as an expression of intense love or affection, no matter what the reason is. Violence and abuse are not acceptable behaviors in any relationship. Teen dating relationships and all relationships should be nonviolent, equal, respectful, trusting, and comfortable. There should also be open communication about feelings. Teens who are the victims of unhealthy, violent dating relationships can suffer from negative health effects throughout their lives. Victims are more likely to do poorly in school, suffer from depression and anxiety, abuse drugs and alcohol, exhibit antisocial behaviors, become suicidal, and be victimized during college or adulthood.
The most effective tools in preventing teen dating violence are the support of friends and the actions of those outside the relationship. You may know someone who is in an unhealthy, dangerous relationship whose partner does things like controls their activities, their outfits, and who they talk to, criticizes their appearance, and says things to make them feel bad, pushes unwanted sexual activities, physically threatens them like raising a hand as if they are going to hit, isolates them by saying they should quit activities and stop hanging out with their friends, causes actual physical or sexual harm. It is important to realize that even if your friend does not complain about the relationship, the behavior is still not okay. Here are some things you can do to help. Tell your friend you care about them and they don't deserve to be hurt. Discourage your friend from fighting back or seeking revenge, which can make the situation worse. Talk to a trusted adult about the situation.
The most important thing to remember is that getting help for a victim of dating abuse and violence is important, but you should never get physically involved, confront the abuser, or use violence to protect your friend.
Millions of Americans have mental illnesses and disorders that affect their lives and lives of their family and friends. Mental illnesses are diseases that can often be diagnosed and treated, just like cancer or the flu. Unfortunately, untreated mental illnesses sometimes lead to hospitalizations, violence, drugs and alcohol addictions, homelessness, and suicide. Some people will live with these conditions for years, and maybe their whole lives, without getting the care and treatment they need. Mental illness is considered a chronic condition and worsens other chronic conditions such as heart disease and diabetes. Mental illness may affect school, work, friendships, community, and home lives. Mental illness can be treated by working with mental health professionals and using prescription medication. There should be no stigma or shame associated with having a mental illness. Mental illness is a serious condition, but with proper treatment can be managed and most people can live normal, healthy lives as long as they continue to manage their illness properly. Only a qualified healthcare provider can diagnose mental illness, but everyone should understand what mental illness is. There are lots of different mental illnesses, but some are more common. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness. About 1 in 10 people have one. There are different types of anxiety disorders like obsessive compulsive disorder, social anxiety disorder, phobias, and post-traumatic stress syndrome. Some people can get anxiety or panic attacks. Symptoms of a panic or anxiety attack can include sweating, headache, nausea, tunnel vision, and a racing heart. Bipolar disorder causes extreme mood swings that are out of proportion to the things that are going on in life. Bipolar disorder is not the same as being occasionally moody or energetic. Doctors call the moods either highs or lows, and they can be dangerous if not treated. The highs can make someone feel really active or energetic, but also irritable, agitated, and dangerously impulsive. This means they might do something without really thinking it through, or they might have poor judgment. The high mood is usually followed by a crash or low depressed mood, which can result in isolation and self-harm. Schizophrenia is a serious mental illness that causes a person to hear, see, smell, or feel things that other people don't. These experiences can be very real and scary for someone with schizophrenia. So it is important to never judge someone else if they are reacting to something we can't see. Some people with schizophrenia might withdraw from interacting with other people and feel like they are in constant danger. Some people think that those with mental illnesses are prone to violence. Only a small percentage of people with mental illnesses will have violent outbursts, and most of the time that outburst is directed at themselves. Most people with mental illnesses are actually more likely to become a victim of violence themselves, which is why recognition and treatment is so important.
Sometimes we gotta come prepared with some tools that they can use, right? So you're springing this information on them. You're saying, I know, something's going on with you, but hey, at the same time, here's an adult you could go talk to, or hey, here's a place that I know about that I heard good things about that's a counseling place. Maybe, we can go check it out and you can go talk to somebody. So sometimes it's that active step of getting them connected.
Helping all people achieve mental wellness is one of the most important goals of public health. When people are in a state of good mental well-being, they are generally happier, healthier, and more productive.
Congratulations on completing Module 3. The action step for Module 3 is to create a personal inventory of your healthy and unhealthy coping skills. Take some quiet, personal time to yourself to think this one through. Think about some of the coping skills we discussed in the module. Are you engaging in the healthy coping skills, the unhealthy coping skills, or a mixture of both? Write them down on a list, then take a look at your list and create a goal for yourself that will help you improve your mental well-being. Write down what you can do to achieve that goal. Write down anything you think may get in the way of achieving that goal. Then start working on your goal. Keep track of your progress as the days, weeks, and months go on. Welcome to Module 4, CPR. Module 4 consists of 3 videos. What are the steps of CPR? What do I do if someone is choking? And what is an AED and how do I use it? By the end of Module 4, you should be able to recognize what an AED is and how to follow the directions to use it, recognize when someone is choking and what to do if they are, and understand how to perform CPR.
Today I'm going to be talking about AEDs, Automated External Defibrillators. The AEDs is a PAD program, which is a public access defibrillation. AEDs are everywhere. They're in schools, they're in police cars, believe it or not, they're in shopping malls, they're on airplanes. Everywhere basically you look, anywhere you see a sign that has a heart with a lightning bolt through it, you can find an AED. AEDs were specifically designed for people who didn't have any medical experience whatsoever. So anybody can use this device. Okay, so this is an AED, automated external defibrillator. This defibrillator is non-specific. This one is a product of Lierdal, but there are several AEDs that are out there. Some have an LED screen, some don't. Some you just put on the pads and you use it, okay? You open it up, and usually you'll have steps exactly how to use it. They will talk to you. It has a sound device so that way once you turn it on, it will say whatever you need to do next. They've done studies with 6th graders, and 6th graders are actually able to use these devices without any problems. It tells you exactly what to do.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest. Plug in pads connector next to flashing light. Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient.
No one touching. Stand clear.
Shock advised. Charging.
Everybody clear?
Stay clear of patient.
No one's touching.
Deliver shock now. Press the orange button now. Shock delivered. Paused. Begin CPR.
Christian, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and open up the AED. Great. And now you're going to turn on the AED, which is on the button there. The second step is you're going to place the pads on the victim itself.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest. Plug in pads connector next to
There's a
flashing
picture on the pad that tells you exactly where to place them.
Like that?
There you go. And now you're going to plug in the AED to the connector. And make sure that once you connect it, you stand clear.
Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the
You
patient.
may want to repeat, I'm clear, you're clear, no one's touching.
I'm clear.
Shock advised.
Everyone's clear.
Charging. Stay clear of patient. Deliver shock now.
Okay.
Press the
Everyone's
orange
clear.
button now. Shock delivered. Paused. Begin CPR.
What you may see is the victim jolt for a second.
Okay.
That is an automatic response from the electricity being delivered to the victim.
Okay.
Don't be alarmed. Go ahead and start CPR once that happens.
Okay.
Hi. In this segment, we're going to talk about hands-only CPR. So hands-only CPR was developed because of the fact that nobody wanted to do mouth-to-mouth on somebody. Okay. So now what they've done is, the problem that we have is pre-hospital survival rate for cardiac arrests was very minimal. So what they've done is they've developed this hands-only CPR technique so that way you don't have to do mouth-to-mouth right away. So the technique of hands-only CPR is very simple. You assess the victim, see if they're not moving or breathing or anything. If they're not, then you start CPR. Very, very simple. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tap them on the shoulder. Okay, if we get no response, we're going to start calling 911. After we call 911, we give them our location, time, and situation. We're going to come back, we're going to look at his face and chest, see if it's rising. Once we notice that it's not rising, then we're going to start CPR. And the way we start CPR with compressions is we're going to lower half of the breastbone for adults, center of the chest for kids. You're going to place your weaker hand on the bottom, dominant hand on the top. Because what you want to do is you want to create that force, okay? You're going to press down all the way. 2 inches is what they recommend. So we're going to press down about 2 inches, okay? 100 times a minute. After a minute of CPR, okay, we're going to reassess. Okay? Okay, Christian, the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that the scene is safe. Okay? Scene is safe. Come up to the victim, you're going to tap him on the shoulder.
Sir, there's no response.
Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is you want to call 911.
Somebody call 911.
Excellent. The next thing that you want to do is you want to look at the face and chest, see if there's any rise. No. Then you're going to have to do compressions. Your lesser dominant hand on the bottom, stronger hand on the top. And you're going to do at least 100 compressions. Okay, you're going to start going and at least 2 inches down. Okay, go and relax your hands. Relax your fingers. There you go. You don't want to suffocate your fingers. All right, so go ahead.
Good.
Okay. All right, so Christian and Montana, we're going to talk about the abdominal thrust. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to, say he's choking. You're going to want to, are you choking? Can you speak? You got to have somebody's permission to help. Okay, so he's not speaking, he's choking. So what you're going to do, I'm going to help you. So you're going to come behind him, you're going to find his belly button and one finger right above his belly button. You're going to use inward, upward thrust. Okay, all right. Just look at him and say, are you choking?
Okay, are you choking? Can you speak? I'm going to help you.
So what you're going to do is you're going to find that belly button. Okay? Close your fist, put your hand over the other hand, inward, upward thrust. This part always reminds me of Mrs. Doubtfire. Here you go. Come on, work with me. Let's go. All right? Until one of two things happen. One, they spit it out, or two, they pass out. Okay? You try. So find the belly button. Good. Okay. Place your fist, place your other hand, and go ahead and squeeze. Good. Okay. Your victim is going to fall to the ground. They're going to pass out. Once they pass out, then you're going to call 911.
So if I can't call 911, I'm going to have someone call 911 for me.
Very good. Okay. So now you've called 911, or you've sent somebody to call 911 for you. You come to your victim. Okay. You're going to look at in the mouth to see if there's any object in there. Once you see the object, if it's too far down, then they don't want you to grab it. They want you to, if it's close to the teeth or next to the mouth, then you can place your fingers in there and pull it out. But if it's too far, they don't want you to do any blind finger sweeps. Okay? And once you do that, start doing CPR. Okay? Okay. So, let's go ahead and go to the ground. Okay? There you go. Go to your knees.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're going to peek in the mouth. Okay, let's say it's a coin. All right? It's way too far down there, so they don't want you to do any blind finger sweeps, right? So, we're going to start CPR. So, when we do CPR, one hand over the other, stronger hand on the outside, weaker hand on the bottom. Okay, go ahead. Right on the lower half of the chest. Okay, and you're going to go 2 inches down. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your rhythm. Go ahead. Very good. Okay, go ahead and stop. If they're pregnant, okay, you're going to do a chest compression. If you cannot reach your arms around them, you're going to do a chest compression. You don't want to put any pressure on the belly button if they're pregnant, okay? Okay, so after you do your compressions, you're going to peek in the mouth. Hopefully you've been able to clear the object. Once you clear the object, then you're going to check for breathing and circulation. The way you check for circulation is you're going to look around to see if they're moving. You're going to look around to see their skin color. If it's pale or normal color, then you don't have to worry. Turn them to the side, okay? You're going to turn them to the side in the recovery position so that way they don't throw up on you, okay? All right, so what I want you to do is do some compressions. We'll finish the compressions. You're going to look around, see if you see any circulation. No circulation. They're breathing. You're going to turn them to the side. Okay, go ahead.
And then turn them to the side.
Very good. In this segment, Montana, we're going to talk about babies choking. Okay? So the baby starts to choke. Okay? So you don't have to shake them and say, baby, baby, are you okay? You don't do that. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to peek in the mouth to see if you see anything that they're choking on. If it's too far down, they don't want you to stick your fingers in there, any blind finger sweeps, or stick your fingers in there. You're going to turn them over and make sure that you have control of the head. Place the chest on your forearm, okay? And then you're going to place the baby in your index finger and your thumb. Very good. Chest on the forearm and forearm on your thigh. Gravity is going to work with you. So go ahead and place it down. Very good. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to do 5 back slaps in the center of the back, okay? You do the heel of your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may want to do a little harder than that, okay, because you're trying to jar something loose. Okay, so try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Okay, it's okay. You're going to hold the head. Okay, you're going to turn them over. Okay, you're going to peek in the mouth again. Maybe you jarred it loose. Maybe you can grab it out. If not, back to forearm, forearm to thigh. Okay, one finger right below that nipple line of the baby. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, peek in the mouth. If the object hasn't moved, you're going to go back to the 5 back slaps. Okay, make sure that you have control of the head. Let's do this again. Okay, hold back, hold the head, hold the baby's head, hold the baby's chin, turn them over. Remember, hold the chin. Okay, very good. Turn them over. Very good. This is very important because the heaviest part of the baby is the head. Okay, then you're going to do 5 back slaps again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to hold the head, turn them over, back to forearm, forearm to thigh. Good. You're going to do peek in the mouth. 5 chest thrusts. 1, 3, 4, 5. At this point, hopefully the object has come loose and you're able to pick it out of the mouth. If not, you're going to carry the baby to the phone, or if you have a cell phone with you, you're going to call 911. Okay? A few things I want to talk to you about is protectiveness and some devices that you can use to protect yourself. First of all, gloves, very important. If you have gloves, use them. You want to protect yourself from blood. You want to use gloves, any kind of protection for that. The reason is because blood, you don't want to get blood into your system. You want to protect yourself from any kind of bloodborne pathogens, bloodborne diseases. Some of the diseases that you can get are HIV, hepatitis. You want to protect yourselves from those bloodborne diseases, okay? It could enter through your eyes, it could enter through your mouth. That's why you want to use barrier devices, okay?
Why should we learn this, and why is it important?
Well, because pre-hospital cardiac arrest is very minimal, okay? People don't survive from cardiac arrest usually. So it is important for us to learn this so that way your grandmother, your grandfather, any family members or any friends that have these situations where they're in cardiac arrest can survive or have a better chance of survival. Young adults like you are starting to learn more and more about, and especially in healthcare fields, about CPR and about first aid and about all these things that they can do to help prevent somebody from not surviving these kind of things.
Are there any classes I can take to learn more?
Absolutely. Just remember that this is not a certification class. This is more of an awareness situation. But yes, if you want to go to the Red Cross website, if you want to go to the American Heart Association website, if you want to go to ASHI.com, you can find out more about some of these classes that you can take on your own. So for the most part, I challenge you to sign up for a class in first aid, CPR, wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, so that way you can actually go out and save a life.
Congratulations on completing Module 4. The action step for this module is to bring Project HeartStart to your school, place of work, or community organization. Project HeartStart is free training for all able individuals to perform compression-only CPR. Start by finding a teacher, mentor, or adult who is willing to help you organize a Project HeartStart event. Gym teachers or school nurses may be a good place to start. Plan a time to visit the Project HeartStart website together. Involve your friends in the process as well. Project HeartStart is a wonderful opportunity to learn and practice CPR. For step-by-step instructions on bringing Project HeartStart to your school, work, or community organization, please visit projectheartstartnm.org. Welcome to Module 5, Disaster Preparedness. This is the last module of PHACT. Congratulations for making it so far. Module 5 consists of 3 videos. What is a disaster? Where can I get accurate and official information about disasters and emergencies? And what can I do to be prepared? By the end of this module, you should know what a disaster is and the problems they cause, know the difference between natural and man-made disasters, know how to get accurate disaster information, and know how to prepare a disaster plan and kit for you and your family.
A disaster is defined as something that disrupts normal conditions and overwhelms a community or society so that it is unable to function on its own. Disasters can cause loss of life, damage to property, and negative environmental and economic impacts. Disasters can cause fear, panic, and anger in people. Disasters are different from emergencies. An emergency is a situation in which there is immediate risk and an intervention is needed, but the ability of the community to respond is not overwhelmed. A good example of an emergency is an apartment fire. Many agencies may respond to the fire, but the resources such as fire equipment, firefighters, and supplies are sufficient and the emergency can be managed well by the community. A disaster, on the other hand, overwhelms community resources, requires many agencies to coordinate and work together to help, and requires outside resources to be used. Disasters include both human-caused disasters and natural disasters. Some examples of human-caused disasters are industrial accidents, transportation accidents, building collapses, and terrorism. Natural disasters include biological events such as disease outbreaks, geophysical events such as earthquakes, climatological events such as wildfires and drought, or hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods. Disasters are usually complicated events that have many consequences. One of those consequences may be that the infrastructure of a community is completely destroyed. Infrastructure that can be damaged includes roads and power lines, but also healthcare delivery systems, drinking water systems, sewage systems, and electrical grids, which all may be completely destroyed. Because disasters can cause a lot of emotions, such as panic, fear, and anger, it is important for those leading the disaster response to effectively communicate with the community in order to ease their concerns. Communication should be accurate, timely, and honest. Information should also be verified before it is communicated to the public. There should be multiple communication methods used to deliver messages to the public. Television, radio, newspaper, and social media are some of the communication tools used during disasters. It is also important to allow for communication from the public to the officials as well. Setting up information hotlines and social media sites such as Twitter allow for two-way communication between the public and the officials. The impact of disasters on a community can be so huge that outside help is needed. This help can come from the U.S. government, the state government, businesses, charities, and churches. These agencies provide needed resources to assist the affected community. These resources can include equipment, money, food and water, emergency supplies, extra people, and disaster knowledge and experience. When resources are used from outside the affected community, there may be a process in place for requesting them and organizing them. Sometimes resources are used from neighboring communities and states through emergency contracts that are made before and during the disaster. When U.S. government help is required, there is a formal process that must be followed. This process is set forth by the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief Act, a federal law that lays out how the federal government can help states during disasters. When a disaster strikes or is going to strike, such as with a hurricane, community officials work with the governor of their state to determine if outside help will be needed. The governor of the state must be able to prove that the severity and size of the disaster will be beyond the abilities of the community and the state to respond. If this is the case, the governor will make a formal written request to the President of the United States requesting a presidential disaster declaration. The President will work with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, to review the situation. If approved, a presidential disaster declaration allows for federal resources to be sent to the state in order to ensure there is adequate help for the disaster and recovery. Disasters are complicated and complex events with multiple response agencies and levels of government involved. Because of this, it is necessary for there to be a common approach to the response. The United States developed a system for responding to disasters called the National Incident Management System, or NIMS. NIMS allows agencies to work together seamlessly in order to reduce the negative consequences of disasters. NIMS is used for everything from large-scale disasters to smaller emergency incidents. NIMS began back in the 1970s during the devastating California wildfires. Multiple agencies responded to these wildfires and did their best to work together, but lack of coordination and communication affected their success. 16 lives were lost, 700 structures were destroyed, and 1.5 million acres of land were burned. Congress took action and required the United States Forest Service to create a new system of response. The U.S. Forest Service and multiple agencies from California worked together to create a new system to provide common language, job responsibilities, and organizational structure for agencies to work under. The system was so successful that it was adopted as the national system for responding to all disasters.
The initial folks who respond to a disaster start the process. They're the ones who declare that this is a disaster and that we need resources from the outside to come in and help. And once they do that, we put the National Incident Management System in place. It creates roles for everybody, so everyone has a job, and everyone has a hierarchy of people that they report to. So it's kind of a plug-and-play system, not unlike your gaming systems are. So you can make them bigger or smaller as you need to.
Today, NIMS provides a national framework for all levels of government and private agencies to work together to manage incidents no matter what their size, location, or level of complexity. NIMS training is provided to workers in public health, healthcare, public safety, engineering, government, charities, and many others. When an emergency or disaster strikes, it is important to get accurate information out to the public as quickly as possible. Disasters tend to be very popular stories in the media. And with social media and 24-hour news, information gets out quickly, sometimes without verifying that information is correct. Disasters and emergencies can be fluid situations that can change quickly as well. Because of this, there can be misinformation, rumors, and myths about disasters that get played out in the media. All of this information can be difficult to sift through, so it is important to know who you can trust. We are going to give you some resources for accurate and official information. Before a disaster strikes, familiarize yourself with some of these official sites as they will provide useful information before, during, and after a disaster. Many agencies responsible for information during disasters have websites that can provide useful and accurate information that will be verified before it is put out to the public. This includes the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the National Weather Service, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the American Red Cross. Local television news, local radio, and weather sources are also good for information as they are most familiar with the local area. In New Mexico, this would be stations like KOB, KOAT, and KRQE. Urgent information like weather warnings may also be scrolled across the bottom of the television screen. True emergency information will be displayed across the TV screen together with a loud warning alert sound. These emergency messages may also interrupt the show in progress. The National Weather Channel and national news channels can also be good sources. However, more and more national news sites rush to be the first to break news and may do so before the information is verified as correct. Stations such as CNN, MSNBC, and Fox will all cover significant national events and many presidentially declared disasters. Most of the sources we have mentioned will also have sites on social media. Social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are great ways to get information quickly. Hashtags can also be used on social media to search or share information about a certain event or disaster. Hashtag Hurricane Sandy or hashtag NM Bosque Fire are examples. However, it is important to realize that social media is free for all to post, and in many cases there are myths, rumors, and inaccuracies posted to these sites. This information can quickly spread to thousands or even millions of people. So with that said, realize that not everything you read is true. Following official sites is the best way to ensure that the information you receive is accurate. Official sites should verify all the information before they post it.
Take a moment to think about what you need in your everyday life. It is important to realize that during a disaster, you may not have access to these everyday conveniences. This can be overwhelming, uncomfortable, and scary. Being prepared before the disaster can help save lives and prevent injuries. Building a family emergency plan is an excellent way to ensure that you and your family are ready. Here are some tips to help you start to prepare. It is recommended to start small and build it over time. Much of what you do to prepare doesn't cost a thing. It just requires a few minutes to sit down with your family and have a conversation about the plan. Start with a family communication plan. This is how you will contact one another in different situations.
Write phone numbers and email addresses down on a piece of paper. Don't rely on your phone. You may not have your phone or the battery may be dead. Have a common out-of-town contact to call, text, or email if disaster strikes. It may be easier to make a long-distance phone call rather than local call when a disaster has occurred. Know that texting works best in a disaster. Put the communication plan in with your family disaster plan.
For your family disaster plan,
choose a meeting place. Pick a location that is close to your home but far enough from it in case of fire, like your neighbor's house or the mailbox. Choose a secondary meeting place just in case that place is not available, like a nearby church or school. Write down medications and medical conditions. Include your doctor's information and other useful medical and personal information. Make copies of important documents and create a folder for them so you can take them with you if you leave. Make an emergency kit. These kits can be expensive to buy, but you can make your own on a budget. Build the kit slowly over time, gathering the essential items first. Think about the basics that you need to survive: food, water, medication, and any other life-sustaining items that you or your loved ones may require. You should aim to store 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days. You should replace this water every now and then to ensure that a fresh supply is ready. Instead of buying new bottles, use water from the tap to refill your clean containers. Store them in a shady place or dark cabinet to slow the evaporation process down. This water will be for drinking and sanitation. You should try to have at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable foods. Canned foods, dried foods such as nuts, beef jerky, and dried fruits, granola bars, fruit bars, and peanut butter crackers are good choices. Use food that has a long shelf life and a long expiration date. Store the food in a closed container with a can opener and check expiration dates twice a year. A flashlight and extra batteries are a must in an emergency kit. A first aid kit is another item for your emergency kit that you can build yourself. The essential items are Band-Aids, gauze or cotton squares, bandage tape, compression wraps, aspirin for aches and fevers, ointment or Vaseline, tweezers, scissors, a small container of bleach, hand sanitizer, iodine for wound cleaning, and a waterproof container. Many of these items can be purchased from your local dollar store. You may have some of these items in your home already. Other things that you could include in your first aid kit are latex or rubber gloves, sewing needles and thread, antihistamine, antidiarrheal medication, face masks, and a heat blanket. First aid kits can also be purchased for anywhere from $15 to $20 from a local Walmart, Walgreens, or other drugstore. A referee's whistle should be included in your emergency kit to signal for help. You can also include dust masks, plastic sheeting, and duct tape. For personal sanitation and cleaning, include garbage bags, feminine hygiene products, paper towels, toilet paper, and plastic ties. A wrench or pliers can be included to turn off utilities or make small repairs. A road map will be helpful if you must evacuate by car. Remember that phones and GPS devices may not work during disasters. A battery-powered or hand-cranked radio is a good idea to have in case of a power failure, or even a special weather radio with tone alert. Remember to include extra batteries. Additional items that your family may need could include diapers and infant formula, prescription medications, important family documents or records, matches, change of clothing, cash in case ATM machines are not working, and food and water for your pets. Remember to check on your neighbors if possible during times of crisis. They may not have family nearby and may need assistance too. Elderly neighbors can be extremely vulnerable during emergencies and disasters and may not always ask for help.
All disasters start locally. And what does that mean? That means that in the beginning of a disaster, we're not going to have help from external to our own community. So neighbors helping neighbors is going to be one of the most important aspects. So if a disaster happens in your community, make sure that you reach out to the vulnerable people in your neighborhood, perhaps the elderly, people with young children, see if they need help. And I challenge you to go home and create your family emergency plan. What will you do? What will your family do in a disaster?
Congratulations on completing Module 5. The action step for Module 5 is to create a family disaster plan. The best way to start is by simply starting the discussion. Sit down with your family or those who you live with and decide on a primary and secondary meeting place. Write down important phone numbers, medications, and other useful information for everyone in your home. Then start putting together your emergency kit, just as discussed in the module. Start small and compile over time. Use what is available to you in your home and buy things when you are able. And remember, don't forget about pets, the elderly, or young children. Thank you for participating in PHACT.